Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chad Calek, and welcome back to episode number 31 of the In a Crowded Room podcast, which is going to be about the YouTube conspiracy, which is something I heard of about a month ago. I started hearing how YouTube made an announcement that they were going to be essentially shadow banning or disallowing videos on conspiracy theories of certain types to be removed from searches and to be harder to find or to be banned, or more importantly, to be demonetized, because they felt that certain conspiracies were just stupid. They decided that it wasn't good for YouTube to have certain conspiracies running amok in the world of YouTube. Now, I remember thinking to myself, why are they focusing on this? The number one conspiracy topic that YouTube made fun of was the flat earth conspiracy. Now, I spent my time on the flat earth conspiracy. It took me about a week to get through all of it and see what the flat earthers are saying and what it is that they're pointing out and why they're saying the earth is flat. And I watched a convex earth documentary with all the scientists that say the world is flat. And at the end of the day, to me, when I compared the pros of modern science and the thought process of flat earthers, and with the addition of a few simple, very simple, steps you can take and experiments you can do yourself, it became obvious to me that the world is indeed round. But nonetheless, I found nothing offensive about wondering if the world is in fact flat. I found nothing offensive about saying, I've been told something my whole life. Maybe, just maybe, I'm wrong. We see this in religion all the time, where views are just passed down. And someone, a child, just accepts it. Because why wouldn't they? Why would their parents tell them a lie? And it's the same thing when you look at the flat earth. Why would our teachers tell us a lie? Well, the answer is obvious. If a belief system is so indoctrinated and it's removed over so many centuries and generations, then eventually you just don't know what the truth is. There's just a group of people repeating facts saying they figured it out. I mean, how many times have you heard that in your life when someone will speak about space or something? They'll say something like, they say on Venus it's 800 degrees at night, and you never stop to consider who's they? Who's they? When you say, they say, the Van Allen radiation belts are this thing. We don't know who they is. We don't know who they is. They is essentially, this mysterious, unknown group of men who have all the answers to anything hyper-technical in the world. So what would be the problem with someone saying, I have a thought and a belief, and as crazy as it may sound to you, here it is. The first time I ever watched the JFK video, I remember looking at it and going, that's bizarre. He didn't get shot in the back. He got shot in the front. His head goes back into the left. The front of his head explodes. And then there was a ton of people who said, no, there was shots over the grassy knoll, and there were multiple gunshots. And then I read about the magic bullet and how many holes it would have had to have created in multiple men. And the bullet is in pristine condition, despite striking bone, which if you know about anything with bullets striking bone, bullets become mangled. But I remember being very young, and if you brought up that conspiracy, the JFK conspiracy, you were a nutball. You were crazy. You were a conspiracy theorist. That's what you were. Just a conspiracy theorist. And then years later, we find out that the footage showed exactly what happened. Your eyes didn't lie to you. The last dump of JFK documents that came from Trump laid it out. There was not only multiple shooters, there was multiple plans to kill Kennedy. And he got shot from the front. The footage was there the entire time, and it told the true story. And the media said, you're crazy at one point, and now today it's all but completely accepted by the media that there was multiple shooters. Now, the only reason I bring this up and why this is important is because what if time shifted a bit and YouTube said, we're going to get rid of all those JFK videos. This is real simple. Lee Harvey Oswald did it. That's it. This is ignorant. We're not going to have people spreading this kind of ignorance on our platform. Well, what would have happened is the truth would have been lost. The truth would have been lost. Same thing with UFOs. You know, when I was growing up, if you said I saw a UFO, you were a tinfoil hat wearing weirdo. Now we have mainstream news stories almost every week about UFOs being seen. The Space Force is being built. You know, Mana Mana Mua, or whatever they call it, what Yale said may in fact be a spaceship, just passed through our solar system, circled our sun, and buzzed back out at ungodly speeds. So what if we did a time shift and YouTube said, well, all these UFO conspiracy stories, we're getting rid of all them. No one needs to be talking about this stuff. It's scary because to me it's all just an attack on free speech. And I don't understand what is going on, but something for sure is going on. I just saw this story in Michigan, I believe it was, where a mother and a father recorded a full-body apparition walking through their living room on film. It looks incredible. And the child was attacked by this thing, was scratched. And the mother and the father are both in the interview. Just shocking. Shocking footage, shocking situation that definitely deserves somebody to look into it. You know, and although we're not there yet, where the mainstream accepts that ghosts are real, think of the injustice that it would be if YouTube started cracking down on legitimate videos of ghosts. Just because right now it's not a mainstream belief to say they're real. Even though it's a mainstream belief amongst the public, just not in the media. Over 74% of the public believes in ghosts. But the media agenda is to say it's fake and to make fun of people. I bring all this up because I'm just really, really frustrated right now. I'm really frustrated right now because this has gone from me hearing about it to it personally affecting me. As I just got a letter from YouTube saying that my podcast titled The Tragedy in Christchurch has been demonetized and will remain demonetized indefinitely. Now, I'll be honest with you, losing the money definitely matters because it takes about 3 to 4 hours for me to do one podcast. And that's adding that time on top of my regular 8 to 10 hour workday, which means my evenings, spent with Laura are pretty much wiped out to do the podcast. And we both believe it's worth it because it's something I sincerely enjoy. And it's something I believe that, and I don't mean this in some like I'm the man type of way, but I believe I'm good at it. I believe it's something that I have a gift for. And I just love telling stories. But of course, I want to get to a place as fast as I can where it can just pay for itself. I don't need to get rich off of it. So it's like, at this stage when you're starting and you're 30, 40, episodes in, every dollar matters. And that's why we've started the donations tab, which right below in the description box, you can see the tab there if you want to make a donation to the show. But I have to be honest, the thing that bothers me the most about it is that I have tried really, really hard to make sure that I don't, cross any boundaries and that I really watch my language. And I'm self-censoring to a degree already because I'm okay with that to a degree. If the format says, hey, listen, you can tell your story, but let's really watch the language. Let's not get too gory and let's not get too sexual or let's not get, I get that. At the end of the day, I want to make a podcast for the whole family. And I've said that many times. I want this to be kind of like a Paul Harvey type storytelling podcast where everybody can listen and enjoy. And if you listen to the Tragedy at Christchurch podcast, that thing is vanilla. I don't go into heavy detail or any detail at all about any of the murders that took place. Nothing. I simply mentioned what happened on a surface level. I then describe a situation that I was personally in with my family. And then my conclusion of the entire podcast is that I'm uncertain as to how I feel when it comes to gun laws. Because at times, I feel like the answer is to have more guns, and at times I feel like the answer is to have none. And that's it. That's the podcast, guys. That's it. And they demonetized it, and then I resubmitted it for manual review, in which they gave it a manual review, and then they said the same thing. This has been banned from monetization. Why? Why? I don't understand. I didn't even talk about anything conspiratorial in that podcast. The whole point of the podcast was that I see the debate over gun laws and I don't know what the answer is. And I talked about how tragic it was and how sad it was and how my heart went out to everybody. The only F-bomb dropped in the whole thing is when I was recounting a story of what my father said to my uncle at a moment in which I was potentially going to be shot. And I've used the F-bomb multiple times or other swear words that happen on accident just from talking throughout the entire series of the podcast, and that's never got a demonetization. And I'm just sitting here going, so if that's too far, man, there are so many other stories that I want to tell you guys and I want to share. And I admittedly have been testing the waters. I've been just seeing, A, what do you like? What do you guys like to talk about? Do you like the ghost stories more? Do you like when I'm just being myself and off the cuff and talking about modern events? Do you like the nostalgic stories? Do you like the personal stories with Laura and I and the stuff when I was younger? Do you like, the adventure stories? I've been admittedly feeling out what you guys like, but I've also been kind of feeling out how far can I go before they ban me. Now, I've only had one other podcast episode so far where YouTube sent me a letter and demonetized me. And oddly enough, that was the Hollywood Illuminati podcast. Right away, that got dinged and said, this has violated our terms. If you'd like it submitted for manual review, please let us know, which I immediately submitted it for manual review. In which it came back and they said, we made a mistake. And they turned on the monetization for it. So I don't understand. But it doesn't matter because all of it makes me sick. All of it makes me sick to my stomach for reasons that are so much larger than this podcast. Because anytime a small group of people that you don't know can exercise control to get you to say what they want to say, that's scary. That's really, really scary. Now, someone could argue and go, well, listen, you could still use YouTube. They're just saying you can't have access to these advertisers. But yes, that's a form of control. That's saying if you would like to use this tool to create, some sort of, business that you like, something that you cherish, Yes, we have freedom of speech. Just watch what you say. Because if you want access to these advertisers, you're going to say what we want you to say. And if you don't, we're just going to bury it so far down the list that no one even knows you exist, essentially taking your voice away. This is why I did the Alex Jones podcast earlier. I don't support Alex Jones's views. Some of them I do. 99% of them I don't. I mean, he is correct about things like false flags, and he is correct about, big government, putting out hit jobs of character assassination. All that stuff's real. But he just goes so far off the edge. And he recently really revealed himself as being out there on the Rogan podcast the last time he was on. But anyways, the point being is, I agree with Bill Maher. I mean, Bill Maher came out and said, Alex Jones has said lies about me and horrible things about me. And I don't like anything that he says or what he does, but he gets to speak too. It's scary to me where this is going. I would rather be offended by somebody and have them keep that ability than take away their ability, because I may have something to say about somebody one day. And what I don't want is to have some company go, okay, you can respond, but if we don't like what you say, we're going to bury this so deep no one could ever even know that you're even talking. Oh, and by the way, if you want to dedicate your time and if you want to build something special on here, if you want to make a podcast that you think the world will enjoy, you think people will enjoy, if you want to make a podcast that you think will be beneficial, and you want to work really, really hard, you can only pay for that time or build a successful financial model of that podcast if you say the words we want you to say. That's it. You got to say the words we want you to say. If not, we're going to take it away. So is the YouTube conspiracy real? Yeah, I've felt it firsthand now. I have felt it firsthand now. And I don't get it. I don't understand why they are attacking conspiracy videos. I don't get it. 9/11. That was another one that they said they were going to start demonetizing and shadow banning and taking off searches, was videos on 9/11. Anybody with half a brain knows that the official story that we were given about 9/11 was not true. Now, there's varying degrees that you can, you can side with. You can go all the way to, the furthest out there, most insane conspiracy theory and go, there were no planes. No planes actually hit the building. Those were holograms, or you can go right down to, the mild conspiracy theories, that just say Building 7 fell without a plane hitting it. A fire doesn't take down a building, right? There's varying degrees of conspiracy that you can fall under. But the point is, we didn't get the real story. So what is wrong with the information being out there? Why ban that information? Why? And why are conspiracy videos? Why is that the focus? Why isn't the focus, we're going to limit ISIS videos and Al-Qaeda videos? Why isn't the focus, we're going to limit hate speech and like KKK videos? Like, why does YouTube come out and say, we're going to focus on limiting conspiracy videos? That should be alarming to everybody. And it should be alarming to everybody that a video that I put out, a podcast that I put out, that was not violent, blamed nobody, was not graphic, was not gory, wished the families nothing but love, expressed empathy, expressed just disgust in the fact that people are losing lives, told a very real story in which nobody died, in which everybody was ultimately okay, and then just begged an honest question as to how I feel about an amendment. That's now buried on all searches, and can't be monetized. That should be alarming to everybody. It just makes me really wonder about what am I doing here? Because there's so many stories that I want to tell you. There's so many things that involve just greater detail of real events. So now I have to ask myself, do I want to keep doing this knowing that I can only tell so much truth? I can only go so far. And I better use their words. I better use their words. I love making this podcast. I love it. I really do. It's a passion that I found that suits me so well. I love reading your comments. I love seeing how excited everybody gets. I love the interaction that we have back and forth. But the idea that someone would punish me for being too honest or not using their words, that just strikes to the core of who I am. It's really, really frustrating. It's really frustrating. So if anything, I hope we all ask ourselves, what is going on right now? For the first time in my history that I've been alive, speech is being attacked. Whether it's all-out banning people, shadow banning, demonetizing, a small group of people that nobody knows is controlling what ultimately gets out to the masses. I think we just need to ask why. Why is this happening? I love making this podcast, and I'm going to keep making it, and I hope that it's something I can just continue to do because I've had so much fun with it. But I got to know that I can be honest, and I got to know that there's an end game and there's something that we're building together. I got to know that. Because in a perfect world, the show would be completely sponsored by listeners, and then we just don't have to worry about the demonetization advertiser game, and I don't have to worry about how honest I can be and how much I have to edit and the right words I have to use. I can just be real with you guys and share the stories that I've gained from the adventures that I've been on throughout the years. Because it is something I truly love. So thank you all again for listening to episode 31 of the In a Crowded Room podcast. As always, I will be back tomorrow. All the best.